absolutely devastating. We fought for freedom, and things are worse today than they were when we were fighting. Now, speaking of things getting better or worse, a devastating clip. It's almost funny in how devastating it is. From a 100-year-old World War II veteran in the UK who was brought on Good Morning Britain to remember his fallen comrades. And it was supposed to be a feel-good story. We're the greatest generation, and we fought the greatest war ever, and we solved all the world's problems for now and forever. And isn't this great? And you should remember how great that was. That's what they expected the segment to be. And instead, this is what they got.
What does Remembrance Sunday mean for you? What is your message?
My message is, I can see in my mind's eye those rows and rows of white stones of all the hundreds of my friends and everybody else that gave their lives for what? The country of today. No, I'm sorry. The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
What do you mean by that, though? At this point?
What we fought for, and what we fought for was our freedom. We find that even now it's darn sight worse than what it was when I fought for it.
Absolutely devastating. And you can hear the interviewers, they want it to be a happy, feel-good morning segment. So they say, oh, well, sorry you feel that way, but, hey, come on, it's a morning show. He goes, no. We fought for freedom, and things are worse today than they were when we were fighting. Things are not great right now. And what does that mean? What conclusion are we supposed to take? People are going to take the wrong conclusion from this, but there's a very, very important point that he's making. Go to donewithdebt.com. Are you drowning in credit card and loan debt? You're not alone. But here's something most people don't know. Fall is actually the best time of year to negotiate with lenders. Why? Because credit card companies and lenders are doing year-end accounting. They desperately need to clear problem accounts from their books before audits begin. This creates a narrow window where they are far more willing to cut deals than any other time of year. Done with Debt has cracked the code on this timing advantage. They know exactly which companies are most motivated to negotiate right now and use this insider knowledge to get results you can't achieve on your own. Best part, no bankruptcy, no new loans, no credit damage. In fact, most clients end up with more money in their pocket within the first month because they're no longer drowning in minimum payments. This window will not stay open forever. Once Q4 hits, lenders tighten up again, and your leverage totally disappears. I've seen how debt can really screw up people's lives. Do not let it happen. Get started right now while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their specialists for free. That is donewithdebt.com. Donewithdebt.com. My favorite comment yesterday is from Stray1239, who says, we got digital Ouija boards before GTA 6. So true. So true. Not great for the culture. This 100-year-old World War II veteran, he says, I look at all those rows and rows of white headstones, all my fallen comrades. The sacrifice wasn't worth it. Things are worse today than they were then. He says we were fighting for freedom. So what were they fighting against? It's easy, especially for the younger viewers and listeners, it's easy to forget, especially because our schools don't teach history anymore. At the time that, in this case, Britain was fighting, but us too, obviously, at the time the Allies were fighting, there were twin evils, twin awful ideologies that were rising up in Europe. Even different varieties of the ideologies. But you had communism from the left, which was wreaking havoc on Europe, which just before the Second World War nearly conquered Iberia. You nearly had the Bolsheviks conquering Iberia. They were raping nuns, then killing them. They were killing priests, burning people, shooting at Christ, just grave evils that happily was pushed out of Iberia. But then you also had the rise of Nazism. And so you had communism makes an idol out of class. You had Nazism, which makes an idol out of race. Both Nazism and communism were trying to destroy the church and taking very active steps to destroy the church. In the case of, communism had been trying to destroy the Catholic Church and Christianity broadly for a very long time. And then Nazism was taking very particular steps to kidnap the Pope, kill the Pope. Hitler wrote to Francisco Franco, said, I consider the Pope my personal enemy. Plans to eradicate the church in Germany, all the rest. So you have these awful ideologies. And then you have the Anglosphere, Britain and the US, which says, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to first beat Nazism. After there was a split between the Nazis and the Soviets, okay, we're going to first beat Nazism, then we're going to fight this war to beat communism. And we beat Nazism, and then we beat communism. And then what happens? Our societies fall apart. And if you're this 100-year-old World War II vet, you're looking at this, you're saying, we fought, my comrades died 80 years ago. And now Muslims have taken over my country. They're raping the girls of our country. They're given a free pass to do so. We've had all sorts of hostile foreigners invade Europe, thanks to Germany, actually, thanks to Angela Merkel in Germany, but all throughout Europe. You're seeing the erosion of the freedoms that we thought we were fighting for. You're seeing women in the UK arrested for praying across the street from abortion clinics. And that's not because of communism, exactly. That's not because of fascism or Nazism, exactly. It's because of the third ideology, liberalism. I guess really you would say fourth ideology, because at play, the minor player in World War II was fascism. You had communism, makes an idol of class. You had Nazism, makes an idol of race. Fascism makes an idol of the state. And then you have liberalism, which makes an idol of the individual autonomy. And what we all thought, what we were told, not just after the Second World War, but after the end of the Cold War, we were told liberalism had won. Liberalism had emerged victorious. This was the final solution, to use a charged phrase from World War II. And this was the final solution to our political problems. This was actually the end of history. This was it. No more changes to ideology, no more traditional conflicts. This is it. We're going to have an era of global peace. This is where the idea of just unfettered global trade governed by these international, non-state exactly institutions, that's where that emerged from. We're all going to sing Kumbaya because history's over. But liberalism failed too. That's the issue. It's not that Nazism would have been better. Certainly would not have. It's not that communism would have been better. Certainly would not have. It's not that fascism would have been. Fascism was the weakest of those three. It's not that that would have been better. That wouldn't have either. But liberalism failed too. Because ideologies fail. Because, to use a phrase, pardon the jargon, from Michael Oakeshott, great British political philosopher, ideology is the formalized abridgment of the supposed substratum of rational truth contained in the tradition. Formalized, so it's, you can write it down on a piece of paper. Abridgment, you're shrinking it, you're minimizing it, of what we think is the substratum, the operative layer of purely rational truth that we would otherwise get in the tradition. This is why, as all of these ideologies are back in play, communism on the left, almost pretty overt communism. Look at our guy in New York. A little hint of a rise of Nazism, whether it's Nazism's a dead ideology, as Chris Rufo pointed out, but there are little ironic hints of it again. Or fascism, people joke, maybe the fascists weren't so bad, whatever. As there are all these rise, and then the liberals are tripling down, what is called for is an alternative. Because all of these ideologies have failed. The failure of liberalism is so tragic that it's bringing a 100-year-old World War II veteran almost to tears on television when he says, wow, look at our country, it's worse off today than it was in the 30s and 40s. What is called for is an alternative to all of those ideologies, an alternative to the habit in modernity of formalizing, abridging, rationalizing, abstracting from the tradition. What is called for is a more classical kind of conception of politics, classical political behavior. Dare I say, a recognition that politics is not primarily about ideas, certainly is not primarily about ideology, but is about people and the common good of the people who are all living together. A common good that we can understand and advance much more sturdily in light of the sturdier political resources, namely tradition, what Chesterton called the democracy of the dead. Was it Chesterton or Burke? I don't know. Either way, they're both wonderful writers. And religion, which is the fundament of all politics. That's what's being called for. This is why another one of the buzzwords that you're hearing these days is post-liberalism. And Post-liberalism is this term, Adrian Vermeule pointed out the other day, it's a purely negative term. It's kind of like Protestantism in the sense that when you say someone is Protestant, that tells you something, tells you it's not Catholic or Eastern Orthodox, but you don't really know. Is it Baptist? Is it Methodist? Is it Anglican? Is it Presbyterian? All those groups disagree with each other. It's just saying it's not something. Post-liberalism is more a description, saying, look, it's the conclusion that guy came to, that great World War II veteran who says, well, liberalism failed. What do we do now? That was a great clip. Now stop, ring the bell, subscribe. See you next time.